right. Little small class today. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Feels smaller, feels lighter. There was 38 students on Wednesday last week. How was your weekend? Anybody doing anything interesting? And besides work? Did you do anything interesting?
I went to San Diego. I see downtown, the seaboard.
You saw downtown?
Interesting, especially the show of the whales.
The killer whale?
Yeah, whales.
Yeah.
I don't know the name, a special kind of whale, and
The killer.
interesting part was that I don't know, he or she
Do they have killer whales at
get
San
all
Diego?
the people wet with his yeah,
Is it this guy?
yeah.
The killer whale? The orca?
Orca, killer?
We call it the killer whale.
Yeah, orca.
Yeah, you know, there's like a whole movie about it. Yeah, this guy.
Very smart,
Very smart, yeah. I listened to a podcast about the free, you know the movie Free Willy? There's like a movie called Free Willy. It was like in the 80s. Free Willy. And this movie helped free a whale from Mexico's aquarium. There's an aquarium in Mexico. They kept a whale named Keiko. And then they released Keiko in Norway. And she died eventually, but you know.
Why you call it killer?
I don't know. Because they're,
They can
we think they're dangerous. They attack boats sometimes now.
yeah,
Yeah. They attack boats for fun. Yeah. Morning. All right. Thank you. Anybody else do anything exciting, interesting? Killer whales? I feel like I should call on people. Ami, what did you do for the weekend? Just relax. That's the best thing to do on the weekend, huh? All right. Let's talk about the midterm real quick. It's hard for me ever to decide on tests, but on Wednesday, October 22nd, so that's week 10. This is week 9. We're halfway through the semester. Congratulate yourself. It's been a long semester so far, and it'll just keep getting more fun, more exciting, more work. All right. So yeah, there will be 63 questions. It's from the book. I'm just going to use the book's test. There's 6 parts, 10% of your grade. Part 1 are verbs, verb tenses. So there's 12 questions, chapters 1 through 3. Part 2 are passives, chapters 6 and 7. 8 questions. Part 3 are modals, so modals of certainty, modals of obligation, chapters 4 through 5, 10 questions. Gerunds and infinitives, 14 questions, chapters 8 through 9. Part 5, nouns, which we're doing currently. A lot of this is review. Chapters 10 through 13, there's 14 questions, 2 parts. And there's going to be a reading comprehension, which we haven't really done in this class, so we're going to practice that today, okay? And it's a good opportunity just to look back at all the materials. Maybe you missed doing something. But yeah, check the quizzes, retake the quizzes if you've taken them already. Just practice again. It's a good way, especially if you know it really well. That means that you know it really well, okay? So taking quizzes again certainly does help. And we'll talk about that. So yeah, review all the materials on Canvas, look through the questions and the extra materials. There's lots of extra materials. Watch those videos. Especially with verb tenses. I hear that those have really been useful to students, that they learn more from the extra materials than my class, which is good. Retake those quizzes, test. The test is similar, so some of those question types are similar. because I use the questions from the book. Study with your classmates. Make a time to study after class. Help each other. And I just think when you study with somebody else, you're learning together and you remember more because you're having fun. We need stimuli. We need motivation. Do we need motivation? I don't know. And we'll practice a reading prompt question after this for definite and indefinite articles. So last week we did that, and we're going to finish up today about articles as well. But yeah, let's learn about how to learn better. All right, so we're going to watch a TED Ed video. I didn't find a CNN 10 video that I liked for this week. It's all very sad and depressing. So let's learn about studying. So write keyword notes from the TED Ed. This is called 3 Tips on How to Study Effectively. And if you already know how to study effectively, maybe there's something new that you can use to learn better. So I want you to take keyword notes. We're going to watch a video. Keyword notes, you can write in your journal, you can write in your notebook. I should watch a movie in this class. And I'll slow it down. Everybody ready? This is TED Ed, part of the TED organization. They have a lot of, I think, useful education videos. They're just a little difficult. They have very complex topics sometimes. So yeah, this is called 3 Tips on How to Study Effectively. 3 tips on how to study effectively. So yeah, take keyword notes, and we'll put the keywords up.
During their training, medical residents learn countless techniques, surgeries, and procedures which they'll later use to save lives. Being able to remember these skills can quite literally be a matter of life and death. With this in mind, a 2006 research study took a class of surgical residents learning to suture arteries and split them into 2 groups. Each received the same study materials, but one group implemented a small change in how they studied them. And when tested 1 month later, this group performed the surgeries significantly better than the other residents. We'll discuss the secret to that group's success, along with 2 other highly effective study techniques which can be applied both in and out of the classroom. But to understand why these methods work, let's first unpack how the brain learns and stores information. Say you're trying to memorize the anatomy of the heart. When you're introduced to a new concept, the memory is temporarily encoded in groups of neurons in a brain area called the hippocampus. As you continue to learn about workings of the heart in class or study its chambers for an exam, you reactivate these same neurons. This repeated firing strengthens the connections between the cells, stabilizing the memory. Gradually, the knowledge of heart anatomy is stored long-term, which involves another brain area known as the neocortex. How information is transferred from short-term to long-term storage is still not completely understood, but it's thought to happen in between study sessions, and perhaps most crucially, during sleep. Here, the new knowledge is integrated with other related concepts you already know, such as how to measure heart rate, or the anatomy of other organs. And the process doesn't end there. Each time you recall heart anatomy, you reactivate the long-term memory, which makes it susceptible to change. The knowledge can be updated, strengthened, and reintegrated with other pieces of information. This is where our first study technique comes in. Testing yourself with flashcards and quizzes forces you to actively retrieve knowledge, which updates and strengthens the memory. Students often prefer other study methods, like rereading textbooks and highlighting notes, but these practices can generate a false sense of competence, since the information is right in front of you. Testing yourself, however, allows you to more accurately gauge what you actually know. But what if, while doing this, you can't remember the answers? Not to worry. Making mistakes can actually improve learning in the long term. It's theorized that as you rack your brain for the answer, you activate relevant pieces of knowledge. Then, when the correct answer is later revealed, the brain can better integrate this information with what you already know. Our second technique builds on the first. When using flashcards to study, it's best to mix the deck with multiple subjects. Interleaving or mixing the concepts you focus on in a single session can lead to better retention than practicing a single skill or topic at a time. One hypothesis of why this works is that, similar to testing, cycling through different subjects forces your brain to temporarily forget, then retrieve information, further strengthening the memory. You may also find connections across the topics and better understand their differences. Now that you know how and what to study, our final technique concerns when. Spacing your review across multiple days allows for rest and sleep between sessions. While offline, the brain is actively at work, storing and integrating knowledge in the neocortex. So while cramming the night before the exam may seem logical, after all, won't the material be fresh in your mind? The information won't stick around for the long term. This brings us back to our medical residents. Both groups studied the surgery for the same amount of time, yet one group's training was crammed in a single day, while the other more successful group's training was spread over 4 weeks. The reason all three of these study techniques work is because they're designed with the brain in mind. They complement and reinforce the incredible way the brain works, sorting through and storing the abundance of information it's fed day after day. If you find it difficult to reach a state of flow while you're studying, maybe we can help. Watch this video to learn more about this unique mental state of effortless.
We'll watch that again? Yeah. Watch it 3 times today. All right. Let's just, and while you're watching again, think about what the topic is, controlling idea. Think about what the 3 subtopics are, write those down. And think about what they're asking you to do. What's the call to action, okay? Focus
During
on
their training, medical residents learn countless techniques, surgeries, and procedures which they'll later use to save lives. Being able to remember these skills can quite literally be a matter of life and death. With this in mind, a 2006 research study took a class of surgical residents learning to suture arteries and split them into 2 groups. Each received the same study materials, but one group implemented a small change in how they studied them. And when tested 1 month later, this group performed the surgeries significantly better than the other residents. We'll discuss the secret to that group's success, along with 2 other highly effective study techniques which can be applied both in and out of the classroom. But to understand why these methods work, let's first unpack how the brain learns and stores information. Say you're trying to memorize the anatomy of the heart. When you're introduced to a new concept, the memory is temporarily encoded in groups of neurons in a brain area called the hippocampus. As you continue to learn about workings of the heart in class or study its chambers for an exam, you reactivate these same neurons. This repeated firing strengthens the connections between the cells, stabilizing the memory. Gradually, the knowledge of heart anatomy is stored long term, which involves another brain area known as the neocortex. How information is transferred from short-term to long-term storage is still not completely understood, but it's thought to happen in between study sessions, and perhaps most crucially, during sleep. Here, the new knowledge is integrated with other related concepts you already know, such as how to measure heart rate, or the anatomy of other organs. And the process doesn't end there. Each time you recall heart anatomy, you reactivate the long-term memory, which makes it susceptible to change. The knowledge can be updated, strengthened, and reintegrated with other pieces of information. This is where our first study technique comes in. Testing yourself with flashcards and quizzes forces you to actively retrieve knowledge, which updates and strengthens the memory. Students often prefer other study methods, like rereading textbooks and highlighting notes, but these practices can generate a false sense of competence, since the information is right in front of you. Testing yourself, however, allows you to more accurately gauge what you actually know. But what if, while doing this, you can't remember the answers? Not to worry, making mistakes can actually improve learning in the long term. It's theorized that as you rack your brain for the answer, you activate relevant pieces of knowledge. Then, when the correct answer is later revealed, the brain can better integrate this information with what you already know. Our second technique builds on the first. When using flashcards to study, it's best to mix the deck with multiple subjects. Interleaving or mixing the concepts you focus on in a single session can lead to better retention than practicing a single skill or topic at a time. One hypothesis of why this works is that, similar to testing, cycling through different subjects forces your brain to temporarily forget, then retrieve information, further strengthening the memory. You may also find connections across the topics and better understand their differences. Now that you know how and what to study, our final technique concerns when. Spacing your review across multiple days allows for rest and sleep between sessions. While offline, the brain is actively at work, storing and integrating knowledge in the neocortex. So while cramming the night before the exam may seem logical, after all, won't the material be fresh in your mind? The information won't stick around for the long term. This brings us back to our medical residents. Both groups studied the surgery for the same amount of time, yet one group's training was crammed in a single day, while the other more successful group's training was spread over 4 weeks. The reason all three of these study techniques work is because they're designed with the brain in mind. They complement and reinforce the incredible way the brain works, sorting through and storing the abundance of information it's fed day after day. If you find it difficult,
Nice. All right. 2 times. We'll listen to it again, but go ahead, write your keywords in the word cloud. Woo clap. Any words that you remember? The words. Is here. And yeah, let me do that as well. So I took notes today. I'll show you my notes. Ooh. Continue anonymously. I don't know, hippocampus. How do I get it so that you can see it at the same time? I guess I could do. What does this neocortex thing do? What are some cool words that you learned? Interleaving. Spaced. Review. What does the word cramming mean? Write as many words, short phrases, keywords as you can. We'll check those. Put together a story about what you learned. Most days here's Maribel. Okay. It's recording. No Marianne today. We got Xana's here. Excuse me. Oh, there's Marianne. Marianne's back. We got 5 over there. Nice. Let's look at some of these words. Uh-oh. It's not this one. It's which one am I signed into? This one? Yeah. Did I really? Yeah. Yeah, give me one moment. Hold on. I don't know why I didn't change this. TED-Ed. Huh, okay. Yeah, here we go. Holidays here. All right, let's check those words. Techniques, hypothalamus. What is the term? Hippocampus. The word memory comes up, 2006. What happened in 2006? What, when? Storage, success, unpack, hypothesis, fed day after day. 2 groups. What were these 2 groups? The word retrieve, suture, surgery. Yeah. Keep adding words. Yeah, just keep adding words, even if they're the same words that are there. Quizzes are important. I think this is probably the best way to learn anything. I don't know. Does anybody use Duolingo? It's like an app for learning English. I mean, it just became very popular, but I don't think it really helped people. It helped maybe with vocabulary, but not so much with speaking. All right. What are some words that we learned today? What are some new words or something you don't understand? I love this movement. What are neurons? Everybody understand how the brain learns now? Kind of. Okay. Yeah, so we have this thing, it's called the hippocampus. It's in the middle of our brain. That's for short-term memory. That's like we can store a certain amount of information for a certain amount of time, maybe an hour, maybe a day. So in the past, and still people do this, but if you didn't study for a test, you would cram. What does cram mean?
You put a lot of information in a short period.
Right. You take a lot of something and you put it into something else. So if you're packing for the weekend, you might cram all your clothes into your bag, and it's like about to burst. That's like your brain. You're cramming information. And so it stays in there, and you go to sleep, and you wake up, and you still can remember it, right? Just like if you're worrying about a problem, or if there's something that you've been worrying about, you'll have a dream about it. Has anybody ever had a dream about like a test? Yes. Why? Because that was the last thing you were thinking about before you went to sleep. You were very focused. Your body is very agitated. It's very stressed. So you'll remember, you'll have a dream about taking the test and that you forgot your pencils or you'll fail the test. Something, right? Everybody has this experience if you've studied, if you've been in school. But it doesn't last. So if you cram and you get an A on the test, wonderful, but it won't stay with you for So if you're studying, medicine for 8 years, if you're always cramming, at the end when you take that final examination, you'll forget everything. You'll have to test yourself again. So what's the technique that they said that we should do, the third technique for memorizing, to transfer from the hippocampus to the neocortex? Flashcards is one way, yeah, but how do we actually keep it?
Flashcard and quiz.
Quizzes, flashcards, making mistakes makes us activate, testing yourself, and then the last one was? The second one, yeah, mixing things, okay. And then the last subtopic, the last thing, it was how, what, and when. When should we do it? Spread. Okay, so don't study everything. Yeah, so over. So, so the 2006, what is 2006? Take a break, rest. 2006, what does 2006 mean here? Yeah, the study, and they had two groups. Both groups studied the same materials, the same amount of time. One group just did it over 4 weeks. One did it all in one day. Which group did better?
4 weeks.
The 4 weeks, right? Because you give your brain time to rest. The important, does everybody know why we sleep?
Because we want to refresh.
Refresh what? Your body?
Body, mind,
Okay.
everything.
So one of the main purposes of sleep is to just organize your brain. It's like a librarian. Like when the library closes, what happens? The janitors come in, they clean the trash away. There's this thing, it's called beta amyloids in your brain. That's like basically like junk that accumulates, and if you don't sleep, it doesn't get cleaned out. And that leads to dementia, Alzheimer's, they say. The other thing it does is like the librarian comes and puts the books back in the right place. Okay?
Even during the sleep, the brain is working.
Oh yeah, you use more calories when you sleep than when you are watching TV, right? So we're not actually saving energy by sleeping. We're like burning more calorie than if you laid on like your bed and didn't move for 8 hours. Your brain, when you're sleeping, actually burns more calories than, so it's not about saving energy, right? The studies show that when you sleep, your body is consuming more calories than if you were sitting down doing nothing. So there's a very active thing that's happening while you're sleeping. And that's why when you sleep, you can actually remember things better. You're more prepared. But it also is moving things from short-term memory into long-term. Yeah. So that's where that transfer happens. So your hippocampus is storing all this short-term memory. That's why you can remember something for a test, because you can still pull this information that's stored in the hippocampus. What is the part of the brain what are some parts of the brain besides hippocampus, neocortex? What are these neurons? Connections, yeah. So think of them like as highways, they connect different parts of your brain. They are more efficient when you use them more, so brain studies show that when you're studying a certain thing, a certain part of your brain is firing. What happens when you test yourself, when you give yourself a quiz?
We made a mistake and we can
Yeah, so we can it's actually making us fire that neuron, right? Yeah. It's making you use that part of your brain. And so that, eventually, what is it called, that term for retrieval, right? You can't store everything in short-term memory. Does anybody love computers like I love computers? Yes. Yeah, so you have RAM on your computer. It's what you're working with. And sometimes you need to pull information from your hard drive, right? And if you can find the information, great. So I don't believe people have bad memories unless you have some kind of brain injury. It's if you don't practice using it to retrieve forgotten information, you become more efficient at finding information. It's like if you're a really good librarian, or you go to the bookstore or the library so often that you know where all the books are. You just go to the library and say, section 2, blah, 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 right? You ask a librarian where a book is, she'll say, in section 5, on the second thing. She knows where the books are, right? She knows where the information is. And your brain needs practice knowing where to find this information. The second one I think is really interesting. About mixing. So if you're studying English, I don't think it's good to just focus on one grammar point, right? And what's the best way to learn all of these all at the same time? To have different skills, different materials. What's the material that we can use, or what skill? Flashcards, stories. I'm going to say reading. Right? When you read, you're studying all the skills at the same time, right? You're studying verb tenses, you're seeing adjectives, seeing all the parts, you're seeing punctuation. And so reading is, I think, the best way to understand a text or to understand grammar, because you have to use all of your skills all at once. You'll see something you haven't seen in a while, and then you have to remember it again. What does that word mean? And that's the best way, I think. Okay, and now I'm going to mix it together. Yeah, question?
This research was related to practical or just theoretical material?
This was,
There were
well, it's practical.
in the hospital and talk about the suture.
Yeah, is suturing a practical skill or theory? What is sutures? Does anybody? What does that remind you of? Stitches. Of a wound, yeah. So sutures is stitches. Whoops. Whoa.
I think for practical learning, you cannot use flashcards.
So this was practical learning because they're actually physically doing something.
Yes.
So yes, you can.
What flashcard?
Yeah, that's what they did.
What should we do with flashcards?
You can write a flashcard what you're supposed to do, what kind of suturing you use. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Anybody have ever done suturing before? No. But yeah, I think it's a little bit more complicated than just sewing your clothes, right? So this was for something practical. Flashcards can be used for almost anything. If you're learning a language, then you would write vocabulary words. You might write a sentence and say what verb tense this is, right? I don't think it's just for theoretical. I think it's for any kind of learning. Sutures has different steps, right? And so you have to figure out what the next step is. And so maybe quizzing yourself on, after doing this, what do you do next, right? It's any information that you can need. These were my notes that I was taking, keyword notes as we were doing. But yeah, I love taking keyword notes.
Understand the parts. What do you mean the video show the heart?
Why did they talk about the heart?
Because when we learn about suture arteries.
Right, so
Yeah,
suturing,
not skin, arteries.
right, oh, arteries.
Arteries, yes.
Okay, so they have to learn about the heart. When you do this, There's a theoretical part, but then there's the practical part. So they were talking about what group was doing the research? What was this group? Yeah. Surgical residents, right? So they are learning to be surgeons. They're not doctors yet. They're residents, which means they're kind of like interns, like they're working, they're studying, right? All right, I'm going to switch real quick, and we're going to come back to this video again. But I want to just talk about conclusion paragraphs, and then we'll take a... We're going to move a lot today, sorry. All right, so conclusion paragraph. Again, good writing is rewriting. In your conclusion paragraph, you're going to summarize and restate your thesis statement. We talked about body paragraph briefly. Again, I think me telling you is different from you doing it, so we'll do it. Conclusion paragraph is the final paragraph in an essay. Okay, it has three purposes. Signal the end of the essay. It's letting your reader know that it's the end. It reminds your readers of the main points. Okay, so the main points of maybe this video are how the brain learns, and these three different techniques. So like spaced study sessions, flashcards, and mixing your subjects. It summarizes your subtopics, so you can briefly just talk about those three things. And then it restates your thesis statement. So whatever your topic, controlling idea was. Okay? And then the final thing I think that makes a good conclusion paragraph is it leaves your reader with a final thought on the topic, right? So what would be a final thought on this topic about study tips? What would you tell your reader?
Divide several parts. You shouldn't study all material at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And
One thing, I mean, you want to just say it like, if you use these study techniques, you'll be able to learn better, right? So yeah, conclusion, it's going to be the reverse funnel. So before we went from general down to specific, okay, that's the funnel. This one's going to be reverse. So we start with the thesis statement. So you actually start this time with the thesis statement. You're going to summarize your essay in different ways, okay? You can restate your topic sentences with different words. So each of your paragraphs, you might just restate the topic sentence. You're going to introduce general information again. So studying by knowing about the brain is a useful technique for success in school. And then finish with the final thought. And that would be what I call the call to action, something you want to get your reader to think about or to do, right? If you're writing about climate change, you might say something like, if we don't act now, it will be too late to reverse the effects of climate change or something. So yeah, I call this the call to action. It can be a suggestion, a request, a command, even just a question to leave them with. So we're taking the introduction and we're flipping it around, right? In the introduction, you're giving general statements, and then finally, you give your thesis statement. In the conclusion paragraph, you start with your very specific thesis statement. You start to give the subtopics. You give more general information again, and then you finish with something I call a call to action. Okay, so some kind of suggestion, a request, could be a command, or a result. Sorry. So if this isn't done, our future generations will not be able to enjoy the earth or something. So giving a results, call to action. This is the conclusion paragraph. I think it's a lot shorter, easier. So final thoughts could be make a prediction. There could be more something in the future. Suggest results or consequences. This could happen if we don't do this. Quote an authority. Sometimes you can make a quote from the text itself or from a famous writer. Call to action, make suggestions or recommendations, like do something, think about something. If we do not act now, blah, blah, blah. The world will be ruined. And yeah, sum up, let's see.
Excuse me, what is the difference between suggestion and recommendation?
I don't know. I don't think very much. Suggestion, I think it's the same. Is it the same? I suggest something, I recommend something. Pretty much the same.
Recommendation is more general than suggestion.
Okay.
Suggestion is related to the exact research or exact finding. But recommendation is
I feel like
more general.
one thing I would say recommendation is like something an expert might say. Somebody who's like recommends a movie or a restaurant. You think that they're, somebody that's knowledgeable. Yeah, so this is a conclusion paragraph from something. To sum up, student-centered teaching is very important to learning. 3 kinds of student-centered approaches are inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, and project-based learning. So those were the 3 subtopics. Of course, each individual teacher might use these approaches in different ways. In the end, however, student-centered methods will develop stronger critical thinking skills and better prepare students for future success. Yeah, so what would this essay be about if this was the conclusion? What's our topic, our controlling idea? So you could just look at a conclusion and understand the entire essay, right? So what's the thesis statement, probably? Sorry, this more specific than how to learn, but student-centered teaching is very important to learning, okay? And what's our 3 body paragraphs that we talked about in this essay that you didn't read, but you read the conclusion?
Introduce different student-centered teaching methodology. One of them is inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, and project-based learning.
Okay, so there's 3 different types of learning that they talked about in this essay previously. And then they finish with some kind of call to action. Student-centered will develop stronger critical thinking skills. So they're giving you the results of what could happen if you use these student-centered methods for teachers, okay? What are the body paragraphs you mentioned? They would probably be inquiry-based learning, problem-based learning, and project-based learning, right? What are the possible thesis statement, okay? And what kind of final thoughts do they use? So when I'm doing research, when I was a graduate student, when I was reading a research article that was 10 pages, I would read the introduction, and then I would read the conclusion. And that was it. And then I would understand if I liked that.
But abstract is good also. Abstract.
I don't really find abstracts very useful.
Research?
Well, for understanding like the results and the how good it is, I think abstracts don't really give us much information. Abstracts are the really short summaries of a research paper. It's like a summary writing. If you read it, it gives you a general idea, but I still have to read the introduction and the conclusion to understand if this was a good research, if it was effective, if it's something that I want to spend, I don't know, an hour reading, right? So I think the best technique a lot of times is you see the introduction, you see the conclusion, and then you can make a good judgment if this is going to be a good writing for you. But yeah, one of the possible thesis statements could be something like student-centered teaching is very important to learning. And this is the final thought, something about students will develop critical thinking skills and better prepare students for future success. Okay, so yeah, conclusion, and that's the conclusion of talking about essays. We're gonna start writing our essay on Wednesday. And we'll be writing academic writing in this class. We'll use Google Docs, and I'll explain more on Wednesday. All right. So now I want you to watch the video again. I want you to write the following things down. Write down what you think is the topic, the controlling idea, a possible thesis statement. Okay, so thesis statement is specific. It's telling you, if in one sentence, what this whole video is about. Okay, that's like the second time the light went down. I like it. I like it. Did the power go out? Can you check that? I don't know. Is everybody out? Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, please. It's okay. Don't. I was like, no more emergencies. I don't need a fire. I don't need power outage. All right. Write what the 3 subtopics are. Okay, write those down. What you think the 3 subtopics are. Something informative. So some kind of information that's very detailed. Okay, just maybe one thing. And then what would be the call to action that they tell you at the end? What should you do after you know these information? Okay? Yes, I don't know. So write it in your notebook. Just write this where you're going to write your information. Your topic, what this controlling idea is. So the topic is something about, I don't know. It's not really so it's about learning, but it's about certain things about learning. Once you know the topic and the controlling idea, you can write it in your journals as well. Thesis statement. What are the 3 subtopics? If you were writing an essay about this video, what would your 3 body paragraphs be about? Okay? And we're starting to think about how to organize information, right? Not just, we're organizing our information by body paragraphs. And that's what I think the most important part about academic writing is organizing your information so that your readers can read it well. What is something informative? What's one statistic? Maybe something that you can quote from the video. Maybe some example from the video. And the last thing would be something called the call to action. All right? So what do they ask you to do? So we're going to watch that video again. And this time I want you to really focus on the organization of this video. So how do they organize the information? What are the subtopics, thesis statement, call to action, something informative? And we're going to write a conclusion paragraph together. Forgetting is the friend of learning.
During their training, medical residents learn countless techniques, surgeries, and procedures which they'll later use to save lives. Being able to remember these skills can quite literally be a matter of life and death. With this in mind, a 2006 research study took a class of surgical residents learning to suture arteries and split them into 2 groups. Each received the same study materials, but one group implemented a small change in how they studied them. And when tested 1 month later, this group performed the surgeries significantly better than the other residents. We'll discuss the secret to that group's success, along with 2 other highly effective study techniques which can be applied both in and out of the classroom. But to understand why these methods work, let's first unpack how the brain learns and stores information. Say you're trying to memorize the anatomy of the heart. When you're introduced to a new concept, the memory is temporarily encoded in groups of neurons in a brain area called the hippocampus. As you continue to learn about workings of the heart in class or study its chambers for an exam, you reactivate these same neurons. This repeated firing strengthens the connections between the cells, stabilizing the memory. Gradually, the knowledge of heart anatomy is stored long-term, which involves another brain area known as the neocortex. How information is transferred from short-term to long-term storage is still not completely understood, but it's thought to happen in between study sessions, and perhaps most crucially, during sleep. Here, the new knowledge is integrated with other related concepts you already know, such as how to measure heart rate or the anatomy of other organs. And the process doesn't end there. Each time you recall heart anatomy, you reactivate the long-term memory, which makes it susceptible to change. The knowledge can be updated, strengthened, and reintegrated with other pieces of information. This is where our first study technique comes in. Testing yourself with flashcards and quizzes forces you to actively retrieve knowledge, which updates and strengthens the memory. Students often prefer other study methods, like rereading textbooks and highlighting notes, but these practices can generate a false sense of competence, since the information is right in front of you. Testing yourself, however, allows you to more accurately gauge what you actually know. But what if, while doing this, you can't remember the answers? Not to worry, making mistakes can actually improve learning in the long term. It's theorized that as you rack your brain for the answer, you activate relevant pieces of knowledge. Then, when the correct answer is later revealed, the brain can better integrate this information with what you already know. Our second technique builds on the first. When using flashcards to study, it's best to mix the deck with multiple subjects. Interleaving or mixing the concepts you focus on in a single session can lead to better retention than practicing a single skill or topic at a time. One hypothesis of why this works is that, similar to testing, cycling through different subjects forces your brain to temporarily forget, then retrieve information, further strengthening the memory. You may also find connections across the topics and better understand their differences. Now that you know how and what to study, our final technique concerns when. Spacing your review across multiple days allows for rest and sleep between sessions. While offline, the brain is actively at work, storing and integrating knowledge in the neocortex. So while cramming the night before the exam may seem logical, after all, won't the material be fresh in your mind? The information won't stick around for the long term. This brings us back to our medical residents. Both groups studied the surgery for the same amount of time, yet one group's training was crammed in a single day, while the other more successful group's training was spread over 4 weeks. The reason all three of these study techniques work is because they're designed with the brain in mind. They complement and reinforce the incredible way the brain works, sorting through and storing the abundance of information it's fed day after day. If you find it difficult to reach a state of flow while you're...
Flow. All right. So you did that. Write these informations from this video, from the notes that you've taken, from your memory, from your short-term memory. There's got to be some information in there now. Write them on your notebook, in your journal, wherever you'd like to write them, but think about what was the topic, what was the controlling idea. Write those down.
What does fed mean?
Fed?
Fed. It means, remove.
No, it means to feed, to like give something.
Oh, give some.
Yeah, fed.
Rich.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, these are going to be the information that you would use to write a conclusion. We don't have the rest of the essay, but we can still write a conclusion. This is why summary writing is very important. We need to practice that more as well. What? Not Sarah today, Paulina, no. Ajde, Mariam. It's not gonna be. Just go ahead, write it in your notebook or somewhere. Just And then I'll ask you to write it on a Padlet so we can share. What is one thesis statement? What is one sentence that could summarize, tell your reader what they're watching? Reader. And discuss. Is there anything else? No. Job, give me a job. So many reasons why. It's like study skills, learning. Something about learning. Study skills. Brain. All right, and if you are done, which some of you might be, dang it, Bob. Let's put it together. Okay. And if you are done, controlling idea. I don't know. Let's put thesis data. I took it off. Formative detail. If you're done, go ahead. You can add your ideas to this Padlet. Just click on what you're writing. If you're writing about the 3 subtopics, how would you summarize or state those 3? They don't give like a clear quizzes and what? Flashcards. Has anybody used flashcards before? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, they still use this for medical school. You know, I think the most difficult. Quizlet, yeah. You use Quizlet?
Yeah.
And the great, it's better to make your own flashcards. Like that's.
Also reverse
Reverso?
Yes, very nice.
Did you try that? Oh, okay. Okay. Right, because it keeps a record and it quizzes you. Oh my God. Okay. I think it's easier than Quizlet, right? 'Cause
Modern tools to learn something.
nice. And you learned that from me? Yay. Yay. Reversal. Use a reversal. How do we use reversal? Let me show everybody.
Usual translate, but if remember this
Right.
new words, and you can review it like flashcards.
I think it's super, super easy, right? Yeah, because sometimes with Quizlet, I just don't want to make it at the moment. Just,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, this one automatically does it for you. And it's free.
And with it, I usually just find something what I need.
Right,
For example, irregular verbs.
right.
I did using Quizlet.
Which they say is good, but the best thing is to actually make your own.
Yeah.
So when you use somebody else's, you're actually not going through the process, and you actually use less of your brain in the process. But yeah, let me show reversal again for everybody else. And yeah, let's just do that until the break. Quizlet, study techniques. Good. What's that controlling idea? So study techniques about what? So that would be the topic, maybe? Study techniques. But what specifically, and what are they focused on in this video? So I like that. That's the topic. Good. How the brain learns better. And what kind of what research are they using to know what to use? Using the right ways, techniques can help to transform short-term memory to long-term event, which eventually improves study performance. Oh, sorry. How the brain, why do we say the brain? How brains learn? The brain. What are the subtopics that we talked about in this video? Right, so thank you, Eric, using the right. I'm gonna just edit a little. Let's not say ways, let's say techniques. Just a little fancier word. Can help to transform short-term memory to long-term memory eventually, which eventually improves study performance. A little specific. How testing yourself helps remember. So testing yourself through flashcards and quizzes. What? Build on first. What was number 2? What? When space review across multiple days. How the brain learns. 3 tips on how to study effectively. Forgetting is the friend of learning. Perfect. How do you highly effective study techniques? How to improve learning. Topic, how to learn more effectively. If you know how your brain works, you can learn more efficiently. Got it. Tips to study more effectively. How memories are formed and strengthened in the brain. What's an informative detail? Describe how the brain captions storing information and turning to long-term memories. What are some specific details? I guess I should write specific details. From that video. Maybe that's a better specific details from that video, maybe. We got 5 minutes. The peaceful koala. The research shows how information transforms from short-term to long-term. That leads to the 3 tips of study techniques. Good. And your job as a writer is to inform people, is to share knowledge, share information. If you were making a post on Instagram or Facebook about study techniques, if you were trying to help other people learning English, what would you write? How would you write it effectively? What would be a possible call to action? Something you would, a suggestion that you would make. How, what, and when. Okay. And what is prove significant? Try it now. Good. Strengthen through repetition. So yeah, your brain is a muscle. It's the biggest muscle in your body? No. The brain's not a muscle, but like any muscle, we just practice, we repeat, we do things, we increase our complexity, we increase the difficulty, and we get better. Temporary stores new memories before they become stable through repeated neural activity. Wonderful. What about the research? What did the research say? For effective learning and moving information from short-term, blah, blah, to give enough time for learning, use flashcards. So yeah, that would probably be the 3 subtopics. Study regularly and review what you learn multiple times. Yeah. Or use these 3 research. Yeah. I'll put it right there. And yeah, we have 2 more minutes. If you want to, in your journal or your notebook, you can try to write a conclusion paragraph. I'll show you mine, and we'll talk. What is the one I think of? Put it together, yep. All right, we have 1 minute. Let me talk quickly. Oops. New movie. Whoops, that's not it. Screen. So yeah. We have a minute. Just look at the screen real quick. This is a tool called Reversal. It's a dictionary translation tool. You can get it on your phone. I talked about it, I think, maybe the first week. But yeah, you can look up words. And the really nice thing about reversal is that it remembers your history. Okay, so all the words that you've ever looked up, it'll keep it in the history if you have an account. And what you can do is you can quiz yourself. So you can automatically, you don't have to make any flashcards. Yeah, it's an app on your phone. It's called Reversal. Let me show you the link afterwards. But yeah, you can press quiz, and you can quiz yourself. I was learning Turkish, so there were words I was trying to learn. Help me out, Gulay. Which one is it? To spend time? Yeah, thank you. My parents are very poor. What is it? Fakir? Yes. Okay. So I was learning Turkish. I was using this, and every word I looked up, it made a flashcard. It made this for me. So you can use this dictionary. It's called Reverso. Okay, and I think it's very effective. You can make an account. It'll save it. Tim, you use it? Yeah? It's effective? How many words do you have in it right now? There's a lot? So yeah, nothing, I think, people learn in the same way. They still test themselves. Medical students haven't changed anything. The technology has just gotten better. 128? Okay, keep going. All right, so thank you. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Silent reading. We'll finish up conclusion paragraphs. We'll take a quiz, paper quiz, practice quiz. So yeah. Break time. Give you 14. You can choose your language. Last week. So next week. What is next week? I don't know. The needs a review. Grew up. I don't remember. I don't remember. What did I say? America de büyüdüm. Change the language. I speak English. I want to learn, let's say, Spanish. What happened? It's free. You can pay for it if you want. Huh?
I want to learn. I speak Persian. It doesn't have Persian or Farsi.
Dang it.
Unfortunately.
It's Russian.
Yes, I
Can
think
you-
it's because of my phone. My phone has.
No, I think it's
For us.
I
It's
think-
not free.
what?
Look at here.
Try
Just
free.
try
with the egg.
Try. Don't use the premium.
Premium.
You can't. I speak English. Dang it. Sorry, there's no
What?
There's no Persian. There's no Persian.
It has a Persian.
It does? Did you pay for the free?
No.
Did you buy it? Did you buy it? I'm sorry. Sorry. We're learning. It's free for me. You can pay for subscription. I'm not going to upgrade. Yeah,
Actually, at the first week I did the survey, some
I know.
but you
So you have to write me a message.
I did a new message.
No, just if you read it, it just says, just say I'm done.
I'm done. Oh,
Yeah, that's. I just wanted you to read instructions and then send me a message. And if you didn't, then I didn't. That's it. All right. Thank you very much. I'm gonna. All right. So thank you very much. Silent reading. Never enough time in the day, but there's always time for reading. We are going to read Animal Farm in this class. Has anybody read this book before? You have? Good. Okay. Have you read it in English? No. Okay, good. So yeah, I think it's important to read something in the class. George Orwell, you've read it?
Yeah, I read.
Did you read it in English?
No, in Persian.
In Persian. Okay. So yeah, you might know the story. It might seem like a children's story, but it definitely is not. So yeah, if you can buy a copy, or if you want to use a PDF, there is a PDF version. I'll post it on the Canvas. And we're going to read it in class. There's an audio book that I found. We'll learn difficult vocabulary. So I think the most difficult thing about this book isn't the grammar, it's the vocabulary words. They're very, very, they're about farming, right? So a lot of these words might not be very common to you, but I don't think that's as important as the story itself. I think it's a really important story right now in history. So I want us to read it. We're going to read it together. You can still read your silent reading book, but there will be some days that we'll read Animal Farm together in class. So please try to find a copy. If you don't want to buy one, there is a PDF if you don't mind reading on a screen or an iPad or something.
PDF of Canvas.
I will post it there if you want it on a PDF. But, you know, I do recommend buying the copy of the book because books are important. Let's go back to this conclusion thing. All right. We talked about conclusions. I think, yeah. Again, if you look at the Padlet, thesis statements should be more specific, but not too specific. Okay, I started moving some things around. For example, I would say that this goes somewhere here. Okay, I like this as the beginning. There are 3 highly effective study techniques that are influenced or by the brain or something like that. Where did I write this comment? 2 groups of students. I would say that's specific detail. Okay. Forgetting is a friend of learning. It's not a subtopic. It might be a quote that you saw in the beginning, so it might be something specific detail. Any quotations, things like that. Let's move that one as well. I can't move it. Oh, there's lots of people. So subtopics, we were talking about what were the 3 subtopics. So some people would just put how, what, and when. Okay, but be a little bit more descriptive. What does how mean? What was how? How do we study more effectively? Quizzes, testing yourself, quizzes, flashcards. Yep. Just testing yourself, making mistakes, something like that. I know that's really small. What was the what? Which? Mixed subject? Sorry, I didn't hear you, Eric. Middle? Build and verse? What is it?
Build on the first. Build on the first.
They mentioned it? Okay. Build on the first. I think the main point, though, was mixed subjects. Yeah. So don't study just one thing, mix subjects, study like lots of different things at the same time. It makes a better connection. What was the win? Space sessions, study sessions over multiple days or something like that. So yeah, that would be your 3 subtopics. It's a little small. Let me zoom it in some more. But yeah, your 3 subtopics were, could be something that you could make body paragraphs from. And you would write a body paragraph for each of those things, explain it briefly in one paragraph. Let me just post that. And any specific details, so any details would be anything about the brain. I wouldn't say the topic is forgetting the friend. So what's the topic of our video that we watched? Well, not quite. That's like a quote, right? That was a quotation from the beginning. So what would be something that talks, what's the very, very, very general point of this video? Yeah, study tips, study techniques, right? Was the controlling idea something about comparison of 2 groups? So I would say that this is a specific detail, right? So what is the way that we study? We can use these different techniques, 3, and I'm going to say the most important thing is brain researched. These are based on how the brain works, right? They're not just techniques that don't work. These are like 3 brain, researched study techniques or study methods. I don't know. Study strategies, methods, something like that. I think the main thing isn't that it's just about study techniques. It's that, the thing that they talk about often was the brain, the hippocampus, the neocortex. These are proven to help your brain remember things. Was rereading effective? Is that something that you've done in the past when you study? Just reread the textbook? No, it's not. It's not effective. The video did. It's not effective because you're not.
Even highlighting.
So they also said those are not. You pretend like you're learning, but because the information is there, it's not actually making your brain. So yeah, these are like old techniques that people have used in the past. Like if you were a student, you were probably just like reading your textbook again. It's not an effective use of your time. And the research shows that when you use the how, quizzes, flashcards, those things are better than just rereading your notes and highlighting, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to write the conclusion because we don't really have time. But this is something I put together. Learning isn't just about reading. Research shows that using strategies like self-quizzing, mixing subjects, and spacing out your study sessions can greatly boost memory and understanding. Why didn't I read about reading? I don't like that first one. In one research study, medical students were able to improve their examination scores with spaced study sessions. That's a specific detail. Instead of wasting time passively reviewing materials, challenging oneself to make the brain work. Challenge oneself. Whoops. I don't like that first one. Challenge oneself makes the brain work more efficiently. Start using these techniques today to study smarter, remember more, and take control of your learning success. I don't like this first one, though. So how can we restate that thesis statement? There are brain researched techniques for learning more effectively. Something like that. So yeah, this could be like a conclusion paragraph for an essay, your introduction, your 3 body paragraphs. The 1 body paragraph would be about self-quizzing. Another thing would be about mixing subjects. And the 3rd body paragraph would be spacing out your study sessions. So doing it all at once isn't going to help you, right? If you just read through the unit in one day and then you say, I'm finished, is that an effective way to learn? No, right? Doing the questions in the book, not looking at the answers. There's a technique for taking notes where you take notes just on one side here, and then you write questions on this side, and you can quiz yourself. They're called Cornell notes. We can talk about those. But yeah, we're going to take a little quiz now. So I want you to look at Unit 11, articles, okay? I wanted to do a paper test because I wanted you to practice what the midterm would look like. This is not for a score. I will collect them. I will check them. But it'll just be today. So Unit 11, I'll give you, I don't know, 5 minutes. Just review quickly. There's 10 questions and a reading. So the reading is actually the more important part that we'll do today. Unit 11 would be what page? Going, going, gone. Nope, that's not it. I closed it. We'll take a quiz on Unit 11. Definite, indefinite quizzes. Articles. Definite and indefinite articles. Sorry. So specific, non-specific. And there's a reading that we'll learn by doing. It's going to ask you things about the summary, the purpose of the writing. You're going to read. And we'll take a quiz. Do you have notes? No notes? And making mistakes is the best way to learn. So, because what is the most? You don't know what you don't know. That's my quote. Do you want me to go? I'm going to go down. You don't know what you don't know. let's see. I think the reading is a little long. Just, gotta give people time. Okay, give out the test. It'll take 20 minutes on this. The reading is a little bit long. Try to understand those questions. We'll go over the questions after this quiz. You can start as soon as you get a paper. Sorry, I'm a little slow with papers. It's very slow here. There's an extra. There's probably an extra. There's 4. Put your books away. Okay, I don't forget you, don't worry. I'm right here. Never forget. Never forget the table in the middle. Table in the middle. Here you go. I guess one more. Thank you. I gave you 2 extra. You got it. All right, I'll give you 20 minutes. If you finish early, you can take a break. No books, no talking. Pretend like it's a real test. No, close your books. Oh, sorry. Close my notes. Sorry. Here we go. Get a paper. I always forget. When you think of great apes, what species comes to mind? Gorillas, orangutans, chimpanzees, humans. While these are the most visible species of large primates in the animal kingdom, a lesser-known animal called the bonobo is one of great intrigue. Known for its unique social structure and its genetic similarity to both humans and chimpanzees, the bonobo is a fascinating species, but one that is on the verge of extinction. They are listed as an endangered species with an estimated total population of about 50,000 in the world. The bonobo lives deep in the rainforest along the Congo River in Central Africa. The Congo provides the border between its natural habitats and that of a similar species, the chimpanzee. Though the two species appear to be the same at first glance, there are some small differences. Both grow to the same height, but the chimpanzee can weigh almost double that of the average bonobo. The bonobo also has distinctly longer limbs, a smaller head, and a flatter face. It is perhaps because of these reasons the bonobos are able to walk upright more comfortably and for longer distance than their heavier cousins. The two species do share similarities with their diet and cognitive function. Both are omnivorous. They eat plants and smaller animals. What does omnivorous mean? Omnivore, omnivorous. It says it right there. So right afterwards they say something. There's 2 commas. So this is what we call like an appositive. We can put extra information that helps you. It's a definition right here. So what does it mean? As they eat plants and smaller animals, they eat what? Yeah, so they're both. They're omnivorous, just like humans, right? They eat plants and smaller animals. So when you find hard words, sometimes in the commas, you'll find the definition for those words, okay? And both strategize when foraging and hunting for their food. Additional higher level thinking includes both species' abilities to use tools, solve puzzles, and communicate. These similarities, however, stand in sharp contrast to their differences in social behavior. In terms of social structures, bonobos, like chimpanzees, live in communities. They care for their young altruistically and teach them problem solving and communicative skills as well. However, this is where the similarities end. Bonobos, unlike chimpanzees, live in matriarchal communities. What is a matriarchal community? Where females are given a higher social, so a lot of times the more difficult words, you can find the definition, higher social status than their male companions. So matriarchal society is where women are usually the rulers or make high decisions. Bonobo society is also considerably more egalitarian and peaceful when compared to chimpanzees. Whereas male chimpanzees are known to kill members of neighboring communities, bonobos rarely engage in such violent conflict, instead resorting to more diplomatic means to settle disputes. Do you know what egalitarian means? More egalitarian. They describe it more here, right? They're more diplomatic. They don't lead to violence. There's something more about equality. It's been hypothesized that more abundant food resources in bonobos' habitat as compared to the chimpanzees are the reason for some differences in their social behavior. Testing this has proven difficult, though for both ethical and practical reasons, and zoological research of this unique species becomes more difficult each year as poaching, political unrest, and poor land management contribute to the degradation of bonobo habitats. Their lands are threatened and the species is designated as endangered. It's imperative that an effort be made to protect the bonobos' natural habitat. Their highly complex and peaceful social structure is as unique a biological feature as any other species on the planet. Their existence is worth preserving and adds not only to the biological, but also the social diversity of our planet. That is the call to action at the very end. Did anybody, which sentence best summarizes the second paragraph? This is the second paragraph right there. I'm just going to give you the answer because we're running out of time. C? It's going to be A. So this mainly talks about the similarities, right? Though they appear to be the same at first, there are some small differences. Similarities. Did we say similarities, right? Oh, wait, no. A is right. Share some similar characteristics, okay? It could also be about differences, but they didn't mention that. What is the author's purpose in writing this passage? Right, so you can always find at the end something about the purpose of writing, right? Why do they write it? The call to action. They want to argue to protect the habitats, the bonobos, by informing the readers about their unique traits, that they are very human-like. Number 3, according to the passage, how do the bonobo and the chimpanzee differ? C. Live in center, but chimpanzees don't. Bonobos do have confrontation, right? But not as much. Number 4, what does the author mean when he writes, testing this has proven difficult, though for both ethical and practical reasons? They don't have the research. Do they have the money? Okay. Researchers would have to test inappropriate ways, making testing difficult. How do you test animals in the wild? Okay. I kind of ran out of time again, but I will collect your journals if you're not going to be here on Wednesday. Are you going to be here on Wednesday?
Yeah, I will.
Oh, you will? Okay.
Yeah, I will.
You will. Okay.
Also,
Wait. Sorry. Can I finish?
okay.
Sorry. Before you go, I'm so sorry. I was supposed to give you something. I have a worksheet for homework. Unit 12. We didn't have a chance to read it in class, but if you can read Unit 12's reading, it's about study skills. And then I'm going to give you this. You can bring it back on Wednesday. And thank you very much for lots of things today. If you... You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. I didn't forget about you. Here you go. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, question?
Actually, the question when I didn't choose this one. It means this one. When
You didn't circle.
this.
That's okay. Okay.
Okay.
So, and this too?
Yeah, this.
All of them. So
All
you
of them,
okay?
when I didn't use
Right.
this
So
one.
read. Yeah. Choose 0 for no article. Please read the directions.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yes. Sorry. Oh, there you go. Thank.
You make mistake. You think mistake for me this one?
Yeah, but I'm just saying in the future, don't read the instructions, because you will get nothing on the test, like in a real test.
It means it's not article, so I didn't choose.
I know. So you still have to circle. So yeah, just make sure you read the instructions before you take a test, because somebody's not gonna do the same for you. Just yeah.
Also, the paper can I have?
2? Yeah, you're welcome. Bye. 2? 1. Okay. You have it 2. Sorry. All right. I will collect these. Bye. Have a great week. Oh, okay. Da 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 da. I didn't record. I'm so sorry.